Alright, we are about to start Murderers at Karlov Manor. Opens tomorrow on Arena, paper, MTGO, all that stuff. So just what I want to try and do is get a handle on what the top commons might be in the different colors. Plus we have an artifact, colors card, and a land. Put these into different tiers. The first tier is kind of the very happy to have these in my deck with like as many as I can get. Might end up taking them first out of a weak to moderately weak pack. Maybe with the exception of like a Novice Inspector or Dog Walker. Maybe take it first out of a moderately strong pack. There's not a nice rare uncommon there. You'll notice a lot of these cards have white and or red in their color identity. I don't think the set's going to be blisteringly fast by any means. But I do think there is a chance for white-base aggro, white-red, white-blue to maybe have some starts that can put the opponent on the back foot, has some cheap interaction to set up, flipping disguise creatures or double spelling turn 4, turn 5, interacting in such a way, particularly if you're on the play, where you can just, bury the opponent by turn 5, which is different from prior aggro where they might be like dead by turn 5, turn 6. This may be where you've put them in a pretty tough situation where they have to have, a very good uncommon or rare to get back into the game. I think some of the incremental value that can be gained will be important. It may not, put the opponent just, out, but will give you a leg up to where if you can continue to make good plays, use your mana effectively, try and use most all of it on those middle turns, and you can be in good shape. So I do think Novice Inspector, a Thraben Inspector, basically a reprint, but it has the detective type in a set where detective matters. Could be the best common in the set. I like Dog Walker. I have it higher than some other people might, and it maybe could even come close to Novice Inspector because you're just more likely to be able to play this when it has that disguise cost for hybrid white-red, white-red. You can put this in any of your red decks, any of your white decks. Potentially could even be splashed if you needed to. Similar with Gadget Technician. And these are cards that I'm going to be happy to take early because this will go in any of the 4 blue decks, any of the other 3 red decks, plus the blue-red overlaps. That's 7 decks right there. Whereas Novice Inspector goes in, 4 of the decks, Dog Walker goes in 7 of the decks. I think that'll mean that I'm just taking those higher for the strength plus the versatility they offer earlier in drafts. And then I think Inside Source is going to read 3 mana, trade with a disguised creature, leave a 1/1 that has a relevant ability for the mid to late game, which I think is going to be really solid. Galvanize, obviously, it's just the instant mana efficiency. It's going to kill a lot of stuff. I think we will need removal, ways to double spell with removal, ways to take out some of the very good uncommons and rares and mythics with removal. And Galvanize only gets some of those, like Makeshift Binding. We'll get them. Murder will get them. We'll see Murders higher up than I was initially thinking in the set. But I think it's just cheap and a pretty good color, I feel like. 2-drops are not great in the set at common. They're okay at uncommon. And then okay to good at rare. But Marketwatch Phantom potentially can just be a Gus Walker type variant, but you don't have to exert it. So every turn you can be attacking your 2 in the air. You just need to play cards like Novice Inspector, Dog Walker, to kind of turn this on. And then I could see Makeshift Binding actually even moving up a little higher, maybe even above these other white commons, but this is just an O-ring that also gains life and only has 1 white in the casting cost. So I think this is just like in a tier above this next tier. I do think Murder will be good in this set. Maybe not like great, fantastic, amazing, but I think you will be able to say, okay, this is a clean answer to anything the opponent plays. And there aren't as many ETBs. I think the set will be slower because people will be playing their 3 mana 2/2 Ward 2 disguise creatures and then wanting to flip them up many times. Some people may be happy to just trade off their Ward 2 disguise creature just to have their board presence not fall behind, have a chance to get to the mid to late game. But I think Murder will be good when you get to that mid to late game. Shock will be good in the early to mid game. Again, trying to double spell, maybe blow out double blocks if you have something that is a creature that is suspected. mana neutral, trading with disguised creatures. I think Shock will be good. And then we have more of these gold hybrid cards. I would say I'm going to pick them highly. I'm not sure what the win rates will be compared to some of the single color cards. So it's tough to feel confident in landing those. In a bracket of like 60+% win rate, 58 to 60%, 56, 58. In particular, I think this may lead some people to putting them in decks where they maybe shouldn't be putting them because they're trying to do some weird splashes or kind of like soup piles. But I think Faerie Snoop and Sanguine Savior and Granite Witness are cards that I'll be moderately happy to pick early, first few picks. White for the Sanguine Savior and the Granite Witness, and then blue and black for the Faerie Snoop. These are colors that I feel pretty nice about. I like white. I think red will be pretty good. I think blue will be all right. I'm not sure about black. I think black might be in the worst spot. And I actually think green will play well if you can identify what cards are worth going for multicolor piles. So I'm encouraged by that. But I think that's going to have to come together, and it's not going to be like a day one, oh, I know what I'm doing sort of thing. Also, I think just for these in general, I'm going to, similar to these other gold cards, hybrid cards, I'm going to take them early because this will go in 7 different decks. And I say that, but like, is it going to be at its best in all 7 decks? No. Is it going to be at least playable in all 7? I think so. Like Faerie Snoop, ideally you would play it in a more controlling type of deck. 1/4 body that can do pretty good blocking, card advantage. Get a card off the top when you flip it. All that's great. I think Sanguine Savior wants to be in a more aggressively leaning deck. It helps you race by giving lifelink to something else, so you can keep turning your stuff sideways. Has evasion. It does really well if you can get a counter on it, or give it, +1/+1 for some other effect, put some pants on it, equipment. And I think Granite Witness in our tempo type play, flip this up on 4, tap their blocker, swing off 2 creatures, play another creature, or like play an interaction spell or something. I think all those can be great. Escape Tunnel, I feel like it's going to enable some of the powerful cards in Uncommon, Rare, Mythic to be slotted into deck, particularly because I don't think the format's going to be blisteringly fast. I don't even know if it'll be fast. And what does that mean? Like, that's a bigger discussion, but I think you'll be able to ideally play a 2-on-2 that's not overstatted, but hopefully you'll have a 2-on-2. You can play a disguised creature on 3, maybe play another disguise on 4, or like undisguised, play a interaction spell or another 2-drop on 4, and then 5 you can start flipping and using your mana through the middle game. I think we'll have games that last 8-9 turns on average rather than 7 turns on average. All that to say, I think Escape Tunnel is a way to help you play more good cards, especially when I think the drafts are going to be, not on rails, going to be a little more complicated. And you do have this buyout of I drew this later, I don't need to find a land, I don't necessarily want to thin my deck. When I have this, make a creature 2 or powerless, unblockable. Like, do this on a disguised creature, flip up after blocks, get a good effect. Seems like a nice buyout. Okay. I think these are closest to these, but I think it's still like a fairly wide gap. I think there's even a wider gap between this tier and this tier. We'll see. We're through with all of our white cards and most of our red cards. We only have like a few black cards and no green cards yet. So that might tell you what I think about the colors. For this third tier, not happy to pick these early. All right with these middle of the pack. Hopefully I can kind of get a sense of where the draft's going, and these will fit in. I think Red Herring is a 2 that you can be aggressive with, and you can always just sack it later. Or you can set up your opponent having to block it, and then use a combat trick and trade with or eat a creature. So I think Red Herring will be good when many of the 2s are not good, particularly because it does have haste, so it can get in there. I think Projektor Inspector is a way to just get through your deck better with doing some looting. I think detectives are going to be pretty strong in white and blue, and some other cards. There's tons of things that are detective, and this is like a fine body. And so I think it'll give you a chance to just kind of like with the ring. The earlier you got the ring to level 2 to be able to loot, the better it was. I mean, I think the math came out to every loot you're doing above your opponent is adding like 2 to 3% win rate. Granted, LCI is a different format than Merge the Karlov Manor, but I think it's important to realize that seeing cards that you want to see when your opponent doesn't have that luxury gives you a chance to hopefully play just a better game. Person of interest, 2 bodies for 4 mana, no haste, and they are both 2/2s, and one of them can't block, but I think it's still a good turn 4 play in many red decks. It helps you go wide if you're white based. Gives you some color identities if you're trying to do that with some of the kind of like higher rarity cards. Gives you a chance to just do the attacking and defending, have something to block, something to send in. I think it's good. I think Cold Case Cracker is going to be all right. For blue, I think it is. I would actually probably maybe put. These are all kind of close, I think. Like Cold Case Cracker, Loxodon Eavesdropper, and Out Cold. I have this over the Eavesdropper because I think blue might pair well with some other colors than green, whereas green will probably need to be like a kind of splish splashy. And this has flying, whereas the Eavesdropper does not. Yeah, this gives you your clue initially, and the Cold Case Cracker doesn't, but that's why I think they're pretty close. And I think Out Cold will be a great tempo play. But it's not going to go in every deck. It'll go well in blue-white and probably blue-red. I don't know about blue-black. It's probably going to be more controlling. And I don't know about blue-green because that'll probably be a little more soupy and probably more mid-range to controlling. Toxin Analysis. I think some people are really high on this. I think it will be fine. I wouldn't say that I'm exceptionally high on it by any means. This is probably low compared to many other people, but it gives you the clue you might be able to use. Death Touch if you can set it up on like a menace attacker. Lifelink if you need it to be on a bigger creature to swing a race. I think there's a lot of just little things that good players will be able to really leverage. And then I think Gravestone Strider is going to help me feel a little more comfortable in drafts, knowing that I'm going to be able to make playables, going to be able to splash for some higher rarity cards, some more powerful cards. And if they do not get, has to block or it gets removed or something, most will be able to do something in the graveyard. And not too much hits for 3 damage. So, I don't know, we'll see. But I think this is probably, maybe you could say Thinking Cap is the best artifact, but I think overall this is going to fit in a lot more decks. And then last year, these are kind of I don't know, probably have some higher variants, but these are a lot of the green cards and some of the black cards are as well. Extract Confession can be good early, can be good late. I think this will be fine. This actually probably could be better than Toxin Analysis, depending on how the format plays. If we're kind of trading some stuff off, smaller game, this may be able to nab some 4 drops, for example, sometime without even having to collect evidence. Fanatical Strength was, I actually had this as my top green common at one point, and then I was like, well, green might have to be a little less linear, a little more soupy. So this can probably go well in like a red-green type of just, gruel smash type of deck. And probably can be good with white to help push damage because of the trample. But I don't think it's going to fit super well in blue-green, and I'm not sure about black-green either. I don't know what the 4th plus brute common is. I put Reasonable Doubt as a potential tempo play, but I am not sure. It could be good on double spells. Could be good on turn 2 if you're on the draw to snag their morph. Could be good on turn 4, 5, or 6 to keep them from setting up a double spell and getting a creature out of the way so it can't block. So I don't know. And then Nervous Gardener is going to be good for Splish Splash, Town Tipster. I think it'll also be good for Splish Splash because you'll have some off-color disguised creatures that'll make this bigger and it can help ramp. So it'll be good in green-red. I think it'll be good in green-white X and green-blue X. And then I don't know about green-black. And then Unscrupulous Agent, I just help play a smaller game. It is a 2, there's not as many 2s. So I think it gives it a little leg up. And there are some 2/1s, so it might be able to trade off or dissuade an attack potentially from an opponent. So to be determined. Set goes live tomorrow. I'm excited for it. I think this will just draft differently and play differently than many of the recent sets we've had. I think the disguise, kind of what I think about Morph, different take on Morph is really cool, really modernized. I think all these gold hybrid cards are going to make the draft really interesting, help you maybe get increased power while staying kind of open. I think that'll be nice. And I hope white is strong, but not too strong. And the format, I hope it's has you doing things that are proactive, but aren't super punishing to your opponent, so that they can catch up and get to the mid game and have some good games. So we'll see, but hopefully this is helpful, and I hope you're looking forward to the format. So have fun.